Hey, what's going on, guys? I figure I'd come on here and do a quick video. I only got about 25, probably about 25 minutes. What's going on, guys? I figure I'd come on here and do a quick video. Okay, first news, just to point out for anybody that's watching, obviously the games are starting soon. I only got about 25 minutes and then I got to go and get my little guy from summer school, so I'm a little pressed for time, but I was looking over some stuff and only got about 25, probably about 25 minutes. And we have new implied totals for today's games. We got Seattle. Just to point out, Seattle is now favorite from 8.5 to 9.5. And then I gotta go and get my little guy from summer school, so I'm a little pressed for time. But I was looking over some stuff. We have Indiana, so that's 8.5 to 9.5 for Seattle. And then Indy and Minnesota, there was no implied totals last night or early this morning. And now we have Minnesota favored by 14.5 at home. So implied totals 155. Obviously, out of the two games, that is the lower scoring game. But that's also the one game that could be the ugliest. As far and as far as injury news, Miss Brunson could possibly play. I don't have any news that she is, but my fantasy cruncher doesn't have her on the injury report. But as you could, but on fantasy, excuse me, my fantasy cruncher doesn't have her. I'm gonna take a look at her again. Yeah, Rebecca Brunson is not showing here that she is gonna be out today. And as far as on Fanduel, she is still with the out, but she was warming up in the prior game, the game 2 games ago. And you could look at it two ways. You could look at it as that, is this going to be? Take a look at her again. Yeah, Rebecca Brunson is not showing here that she is going to be out today. And as far as on Fanduel, she is still with the out, but she was warming up in the prior game, the game 2 games ago. And you could look at it two ways. You could look at it as that, is this going to be? Okay, okay, in Fate's hands, you're telling me the background pop mute. I have no idea what I'm gonna do there. She was warming up in the prior game 2 games ago. Is it that? Can you hear me now? Can you still hear me? And not have the echo? Okay, in Fate's hands, you're telling me the background pop mute. No idea what I'm gonna do there. Is it that? Can you hear me now? Can you still hear me? And not have the echo? All right. Okay, so everything is good now. You don't hear an echo, anybody? Oh, Gov, do you hear me? You guys hear me? Oh, Gov, do you hear me? All right, if we're good. Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right, what I was saying at the very beginning, like I said, I only got about 25 minutes, probably even less now. Okay, thanks. Thank you, Brandon, for that. All right, I appreciate it, son. Uh, Okay. What I was saying, implied total news. I wanted to give you guys quick updates as far as news. Implied totals: Seattle and Chicago. What I was saying at the very beginning, like I said, I only got about 25 minutes, probably even less now. Okay, thanks. Thank you, Brandon, for that. All right, I appreciate it, son. And we have Seattle and Chicago. That is now moved from 8.5 to 9.5. And Indiana and Minnesota, I didn't have implied total for that game before, and now I have 155.5 with Minnesota favored by 14.5. Injury news: Rebecca Brunson, don't know for sure if she's going to play. She was warming up in the prior game. There's a possibility that she may be playing today. That's 50-50. That is definitely a risk if you decide to do that. I mean, you could look at it two ways. You could look at it that Indiana would figure this is Minnesota would figure this is a good game for her to come back and play maybe 15-20 minutes against a team that they should definitely dominate, or they may look at it as like, hey, let's keep her off and wait until we play again, which they play again on the 21st. So that's 3 more days of rest if she doesn't play today. So 50-50 for me. I would not risk that, but I just figured I'd give you that news. You could look at it that Indiana will figure this is Minnesota would figure this is a good game for her to come back and play maybe 15-20 minutes against a team that they should definitely dominate, or they may look at it as like, hey, let's keep her. Okay, I was looking at the Seattle-Chicago game a little bit further. That is the game with the highest scoring implied totals. Is obviously the game that's going to be more offensive-minded. Both teams are fairly good with pace. Fairly good with pace, and I digged in a little bit deeper to see how these teams have defended against their opposition. And Seattle, as far as three-point shooting, Seattle is at 34, almost 35% shooting from 3, but they've been holding their opponents pretty much around the same. So their opponents have been pretty much shooting at a 35% clip from 3. And remember, Chicago is the best three-point shooting team in the WNBA at the very moment. So, I mean, definitely a team that likes to take up a lot of shots from 3. And I dug in a little deeper on that. 3-point percentages for Chicago. Vandersloot, 42%. She takes about 3 shots a game from 3. And Quigley is 42%, shooting about 5 shots from 3. DeShields is at 31%, taking about almost 4 3-pointers per game. And Dolson is shooting 33%, shooting about 2 threes per game. So you're looking at about 13, 14 threes from Chicago on a regular basis. Seattle, on the other hand, they're pretty much fairly good shooting from 3 as well. So you're looking to see if Chicago defends the 3 better. And Chicago, from what I found, they're 10th overall in shooting from, they're shooting 35.7% from 3, but they're giving up almost 37% to their opponents, and that's the worst in the league. So definitely you want to target maybe possibly Sue Bird or possibly some Stewart or Lloyd. Of course, if you do decide to go with Breanna Stewart, you're definitely looking at someone who's going to rebound. Is also a top scorer on the team. And she can shoot the 3. She's on overall like a stud player that you can definitely not go wrong. All right, so field goal percentages, I also looked at this a little bit further too. Seattle, 46.7% from the floor. They're first in the league right now, and they're giving up to the opponents only 43%. So that's a -4, differential there as far as, actually a +4. And then field goal percentage for Chicago, they are 10th in the league, as you know from the previous video, 43.3%. But their opponents are averaging almost 47% shooting from the floor. So definitely Seattle had, looking at this game, obviously you can still target those same girls like Sue Bird, like Jewel Lloyd, and of course Brianna Stewart. So I think this is the best game, in my opinion, to target as far as getting a game stack. So you're looking at 5, maybe 4 or 5 girls from this game, because the Indiana Minnesota game, that's going to be ugly. All right, that's going to be ugly. So definitely Seattle had looking at this game, obviously you can still target those same girls like Sue Bird. If I'm looking at plays, and of course Brianna Stewart. So I think like I said, the best plays for me today that I am targeting, I kind of like now late Allie Quigley, because Quigley is shooting 47% from the floor. She's shooting 42% from 3, and she takes 5 threes on the average per game. And she takes about 12 shots a game from the floor. She actually takes the most shots on the team on the floor, and she's also the leading scorer on the team. And I haven't taken her much during the course of this season. She is pretty pricey, but it is a 2-game slate, and you want to get the best. And she has 35-point upside. So Dolson and Parker. Okay, yeah, I have Parker for sure on some of my lineups. I think I said that in the video. I really like her today, Cheyenne Parker. So definitely Cheyenne Parker. I like Dolson. You could stack those 2 girls against this team. They're gonna need to ball, that's for sure. They're gonna need to play and play hard. So I would say yes, definitely Dolson for me, as well as Parker, is in play. But if I'm gonna have a choice here in this slate, I would go with Cheyenne Parker. Cheyenne Parker, just a quick note on her. Let's see, Parker. So definitely Cheyenne Parker. I like Dolson. You could stack those 2 girls. Parker is the leading scorer percentage-wise. She's shooting the best from the floor for Chicago this year, 49%, almost 50%. She takes 7 shots a game on average, and she's averaging 10 points per game. So she is definitely someone you can consider. She's not a 3-point shooter, but I wouldn't be opposed with a Cheyenne Parker from Chicago and having maybe Allie Quigley, which I think Quigley is going to be probably very low owned. That's the one thing that I feel. Brandon Silvers, I don't have no idea what's going on with Larkins. If you guys follow WNBA, you know these guys are terrible with news. We don't get any news. It doesn't help us out as DFS players. And my biggest concern with that is that, unfortunately, I think they don't even know that they are involved in DFS play, or somebody doesn't know. They should be a little bit more responsible, and obviously know that that there's players out there like ourselves that are looking for this information. And on top of getting all the statistical data you can get, it's very important if these guys are not giving us the news. Who's playing, who's hurt, who's not playing at the last moment, and so on and so forth. They are horrible with that. Unfortunately, I think they don't even know that they are involved in DFS. Jewel Lloyd should be a fine play today, simply because of the opposition. Because it's a high-paced game. Both teams like to really go up and down the floor. The transition game is big for both of these teams, especially Chicago. They like to open up the floor and basically try to shoot those threes. That's why they're one of the top 3-point. They actually are the top 3-point shooting team in the league. So. It could be a scary game for Seattle, but I expect Seattle to definitely win this game. They are a very good team. And but as far as Lloyd, yeah, I'm kind of fading her as well today as far as price. As you can see here on my cruncher, they're facing the 11th DVP play. They are the 11th worst defending team in defending guards in Chicago. And I have them dead last on my statistics as far as points per game given up to guards. So she's in a fine position. But I think if you're going to go with Seattle and you're going to go with one of their guards, definitely consider Sue Bird. Sue Bird, she is at, Bird is shooting 42% from the floor. And she's shooting 38% from 3, taking about almost 4.5 threes a game. And if she's hitting those, she is definitely right on. And she takes 8 shots from the floor on a regular basis, averaging about 9.5 points a game. So it's something to consider there if you want to go with someone in the backcourt, someone more of a stud play. Go here to Seattle. And Sue Bird is averaging 24, 6 and 8. Six,
and if she's hitting those, she is definitely right on.
yeah, Brandon, we need an inside guy, man. That'll definitely make our job a lot easier as far as making decisions because WNBA is so seesaw-like, man. It's like you don't know. It's like playing Russian roulette. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know what you're gonna get from a player, from a coaching staff, from anything. It's just the news is poor. Coaches make these decisions on the floor. They sit guys, they sit girls longer than they should. Sometimes they don't even play. They don't let us know. So it definitely hurts us.
That'll definitely make our job a lot easier as far as making decisions because
Clark, Alicia Clark, 5'5".
It's like playing Russian roulette.
Clark, I know for a fact she's shooting 50% from the floor. I mean, these numbers for Clark the last 4 games are respectable. She's averaging 17 fantasy points per game over the course of the season, but in the last 4 games she's averaging 21 plus. So I mean, she's getting massive minutes, 29 through 38 minutes. I mean, yeah, she's not a bad play on a 2-game slate like this today, and especially against Chicago. So I would definitely consider her. Well, that's glad to see that. All right, old Gov. You know, yes, Allie Quigley is definitely. Yeah, she's one of my favorites today too. I like her. I got her in most of my lineups as well. I think Allie Quigley is a nice play today. But we'll see. You know, look at yesterday. I felt really good about some of my lineups yesterday, and they shit the bed. Other than this girl from Dallas, Cambage, having an awesome game, which I had her in 2 out of my 4 lineups of my $4 and $44 entry lineups. She kept my points up, but other than that, I took a couple risky plays, a couple value plays, and tried to up the ante a little bit with some of the studs, and it didn't pan out, man. Some people did not play well enough yesterday, other than Liz Cambage, and unfortunately, I went down crashing. It was one of the worst days in the last 4 or 5 games as far as GPP plays for me in the WNBA. Sykes was a disappointment yesterday too. I had her as well, Brandon. You know, yeah, that was just something else. You know, you would figure she would definitely get a little bit more action and play well, and she did not. You know, it was definitely not a good game at all for Brittany Sykes. But hey, you know what? Next time around, I mean, you know, I still like her. I'm going to probably more than likely play her at some point again if the matchup is right. I mean, sometimes you look at it, you look at all the statistical data, the matchups look good. You feel like, hey, you know what, this should definitely be a solid play, and all of a sudden it just doesn't happen. So it's a crapshoot, man. It's really, really tough. But, I mean, definitely I find it that the WNBA is a little more difficult in getting lineups set up properly with winning consistency, for me at least, than I have had with the NBA. NBA, obviously, they give you all the news. Mad at your phone. Yeah, good thing you didn't throw that phone, Brandon. All right. Moore or Howard? Joe Minor. Moore or Howard? Wow. I tell you the truth, I have each one of those girls in one of my lineups each. Moore, I have her more. I have more in at least 2 of my lineups. And Howard, I have her in 1. I was able to squeeze her in 1. So, yeah, either or, I think you'll be okay. I think the more solid play will probably be Howard, simply because she's in a more higher scoring game, so there's going to be more opportunities for her, and Chicago is capable of keeping games close. So that's the one draw, that's the one positive you can look at for Natasha Howard. But Maya Moore will not be a bad play, especially if Indiana. Remember, Indiana went into Minnesota and beat Minnesota. That's one of their only 2 wins this year, is beating Minnesota at home. But then again, that particular game, Maya Moore, and I have those numbers here, she only shot 3 of 15 from the floor, only got 9 points in that game. So it was a horrible game for her. It was the worst one. That game was worse than the one she played the other day. So, and she's a bounce. She's too consistent to stay at that range. I think she's gonna definitely have a good game today too. It's just a matter of, do you want to take the risk in the blowout scenario with Minnesota totally dominating this game? Now, if you're going to attack Minnesota today, I definitely think that there are some good possible plays for Indiana in the backcourt. I definitely like for sure Tiffany Mitchell today for Indy, and you got to consider, even though she's going to be chalky, Cappy Pondexter. I mean, her price is still too cheap. So if we want to discuss Indiana, Minnesota, I mean, she is still at 3,600. And if you're thinking of Minnesota, anywhere in Minnesota, I know I've said I like Robinson before. I didn't have her in my video earlier as someone to consider. I was leaning more towards Whalen, but I think she has more upside to Whalen, and she'll get the minutes necessary. So she could be a sneaky play today, Danielle Robinson, if you want to consider anybody from Minnesota in the backcourt. But you know me, I don't favor any Minnesota players.
I mean, she is still at 3,600. And if you're thinking of Minnesota, anywhere in Minnesota, I know I've said I like Robinson before. I didn't have her in my video earlier as someone to consider. I was leaning more towards Whalen, but I think she has more upside than Whalen.
Okay, Mr. Parker. Courtney Parker, you asked what's the best value? Best value today. I'm going to put all my pool players. These are all the girls that I was looking at from 40 to 24. I narrowed it down overnight. And I tell you, the best value play for the buck, the best value play is Brianna Stewart, but she is the pricey. She's the most expensive. If you're looking for lower end value as far as price, man, not Daniel Ms. Pondexter is at 4.6. She is a good value play as far as price. As far as not 3,600, but the value in your dollar. I think she is definitely someone you can consider. Other than that, the next one will be Sue Bird. She's at more than 4.3 value. Is Fowles worth the price today? Sylvia Fowles, you know, she is facing the second best defense against forwards and centers in Indiana, but I have Indiana 6th in my list as far as games, as far as points given up to forwards and centers this year, giving up 48 points per game. And then if I look further here, they are.
Is Fowles worth the price today? Sylvia Fowles, you know, she is facing the second best defense.
I tell you, I mean, you know, she hasn't had great success thus far against Indiana.
As far as points given up to forwards and centers this year.
The last game the game that she lost at home, she shot poorly as well. She was not the only one. Maya Moore was bad. She was just as bad. She shot 4 of 12 from the floor, only 8 points, but she did have 9 rebounds. And you know, she's the top rebounder. Minnesota needs these games, man. I expect these girls to go out and really have a massive game today because Minnesota did not play well the other day. You know, Connecticut went in there and just smacked them up a little bit, and that was the big game for them. And then they lost at home. And like I said before, they are 1-2 at home in their last 3 games at home, so they definitely need this one.
But she did have 9 rebounds.
Yeah, Fag Bentley. Yeah, I like Fag Bentley. Fag Bentley, I think, is a good play. You know, no matter if there is no Rebecca Brunson, you know, Miss Fag Bentley is going to get some time on the floor. It's just a matter of how much time. Now, she was averaging, I think she's been averaging over 20 minutes. Yeah, she is 25 and 22 over the last 2 games and 3 games, putting up 17 to as much as 22. I like the fact that she's putting up 10, 10, and 5 from the floor, and she's getting anywhere between 4 and 7 shots over the course of those 3 games. So, you know, and she did play already Indiana, and when she played Indiana, she played 15 minutes. Her usage, her floor usage was unbelievable. She got to almost 27% usage rate there because she shot 5 of 7. They went to her, but that was in a blowout situation. So, you know, but it could be the same thing again today. I know I like her. I have it in one of my lineups. The best value play here at forward, before I wrap it up because I got to go, is Crystal Langhorne is not a bad play if you want to save some money at 3,300. I also have here Kayla Alexander as well for Indiana because just in case this game gets out of hand, Miss Alexander is going to get some more minutes. I think she's been averaging 9 to 12 minutes. Yeah, she's got 10, 10, 12, 3, and 11. So, I mean, you know, someone that you may consider, but that's only if this ends up being a blowout. Chances are she'll get a little bit more time. Other than that, at guard, like I said, Pondexter at 3,600 is cheap. Danielle Robinson could be a nice little play here. She has, she can get you 25, 30 at that price. That'll be great. She can get you 4 or 5x. You'll be happy with that. I think I would be too. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, man. I mean, I would love to stay on a little bit longer, but like I said, I gotta get my little guy from summer school. He gets out at 11:35, and it's like about a 4-minute drive. And then, of course, by the time I get back, I only got about 15 minutes or 10 minutes to actually look at this one more time and see if I need to make any changes. If anybody's interested in Rebecca Brunson and you have the WNBA app and you have the League Pass, definitely check in around 10 minutes before that game starts. You may have enough time. If she's on the floor and she's projected to start and you want to play Rebecca Brunson, you could give it a shot. I mean, she'll probably put up decent numbers if she plays 15 to 20 minutes.
And then, of course, by the time I get back, I only got about 15 minutes.
Hey, thanks for that, Joe. I appreciate it, man. I hope you come back again, and I hope you subscribe to the channel. But I'm gonna do my best every time. This is pretty much what I do on a regular basis, just for myself to make lineups. So I figured, hey, you know what? Why not? Why not do a channel on sports? I'm a big sports fan, and I figure why not. So anyway, glad to be on with you guys for a few minutes, man. It's 11:30. I gotta go. I wish you guys a lot of luck in today's slate. Hopefully you guys make some money. Hey, if I helped you in any way, man, I appreciate it. Please drop a like on the video. Please subscribe. Please share. Discuss it with other DFS players that you may know that may not know about my channel, DFS Zone. And let's just keep building the community up, man, because we got NFL coming up. We got NBA coming up. It's going to be a heck of a year. All right, guys. With that being said, man, good luck today, man. God bless. And I'll see you guys the next time.